What's up, everybody? Earlier in the season, we talked about long range, close range, we talked about snipers, and everybody makes videos on that, but something that I don't see talked about a lot is what's the best secondary? Obviously, if you grab a loadout with Overkill, it doesn't matter, and we spent the last year of Warzone with Overkill as a default perk, and so we got used to not having to worry about what's the best secondary, so it's not really talked about anymore. And I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been playing around with some things live on stream. Twitch is linked down below if you ever want to come hang out live. See me think through some of these things before their videos. Try things, that is linked down below. Feel free to come check it out. Come say hey when I'm live. But that's not what this is about. We don't talk about secondaries. But if you want to grab Battle Ready, you want to grab Bandolier as your wild card, or you want to grab Battle Ready, Bandolier, or Gunfighter, then that secondary slot becomes important unless you have a second loadout right by. Because even if you got to rotate a short distance from the loadout, you could get into a fight on the way, and you need a good secondary. So that's what we're talking about today. We're looking at pistols. One's technically not a pistol, but it really is. It's the new special secondary class that they created with this game. But we're looking at pistols today. As usual, we'll go through the loadouts here in a second, and then we'll go to true game data. There is an error in true game data's data, so the TTK chart at first glance is going to look wild, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So let's go ahead and jump over to the loadouts, and we'll go through all the secondaries. So the first thing that we're starting out with are akimbos. There's two akimbo options here. One is definitely better than the other, but both actually have the best times to kill on this whole loadout thing. But akimbo's very special. It's very niche. You know, you got to get really close to people because the drop-off is so early because you can't ADS, and it's purely a hip-fire accuracy thing. So starting off with akimbo number 2, we have the Strider 22. It's a single-fire pistol. It's not auto. It's just semi-automatic. The loadout's simple. We got long barrel to go for damage range. We don't have any muzzles because nothing does anything except for help recoil. And on akimbo, we're not super duper worried about recoil. We're just worried about damage range, hip fire accuracy, etc. So we go with the long barrel here to maximize damage range. Not as worried about bullet velocity either. The better damage range is more important. We can look at that more in true game data when we have better numbers. Then we have extended mag 2. You want the max amount of ammo, especially if you're hip firing and your accuracy is going to be less. And we're not worried about the aim down sight speed as much. We go assault grip because we want sprint to fire. Obviously, aim down sight speed is not important, so we want to maximize getting more sprint to fire, which the assault grip does. The quick draw grip just does ADS. The commando grip helps sprint to fire, but not as much as the assault grip. The ergonomic grip helps slide, dive, and fire, and aim down sight speed doesn't help sprint to fire. And the CQB grip only helps sprint to fire a little. The assault grip does the most, so that's the most important, especially with it being an akimbo build. Obviously, we need akimbo, and then we have steady aim laser for hip fire spread. We don't have any other options to help our hip fire spread. We just looked at the grips. None of them have it. The barrels are bullet velocity, damage range, and bullet velocity, short, increased or better jumping ADS and sprint to fire speeds, and then increased neck multiplier. Not worried about that for akimbo as much. And you go to fire mods, you have fire rate increase on rapid fire. It actually hurts damage. It's an error on here. It hurts damage and damage range like it does for all the other Black Ops 6 weapons. Then you have bullet velocity with overpressured, recoil springs help recoil, and then penetration damage with the FMJs. So nothing's helping hip fire spread there, so the steady aim laser is the must for that last attachment. Unsurprisingly, at number 1 in the akimbo, the build's going to be the same, but it's the Grekova, another BO6 secondary. It's the same build for the same reasons. Long barrel, extended mag 3. One of the reasons this is ahead of the Strider is it's automatic. Another one is extended mag 3 gives you 60 rounds per mag. You get 120 total rounds, which is just really dumb, honestly. Assault grip, akimbo, steady aim laser. It's all the same logic as the Strider 22, but it's the better option of the two. So it's secondary. Number 5, we have the Strider again. This time it's the single fire build. We got rid of the akimbo. We got rid of the laser. We added the compensator on to help with the vertical recoil. Porta compensator helps with vertical recoil and first shot recoil. But the vertical recoil is helped the most by the compensator. Another option is the porta compensator is better for semi-automatic because of that first shot recoil control, and everything's a first shot when it's semi-automatic. And then the vertical recoil control Either one works. I went for the more vertical recoil control overall, but both of those are good options. We got the long barrel again, extended mag 2, assault grip again. The reason we don't go with the quick draw grip or the commando grip is ADS is so quick on pistols that we just want to focus on sprint to fire, although that's also quick as well. But assault grip, quick draw grip, commando grip, all work. I just think the assault grip is the best. And then we go over pressured rounds here. If you don't like using the iron sights, drop the over pressure because that's just bullet velocity. Put on your favorite optic. I personally like the Kepler Reflex the most, but put on whichever one you like. Merlin Mini probably comes in second there for me. And that's the single fire or the single Strider loadout. Then at number 4, we go all the way back to MW2 with the P890, which there's this weird bug. I think it's mostly with MW2 guns where sometimes the camo just doesn't stay. But that's not what we're talking about. Here we go with the Matuzik Cottonmouth barrel. It's Cottonmouth barrel. You get bullet velocity, you get firing aim stability, which they fixed the fire or the visual recoil for Black Ops 6 guns, but they didn't for MW2 and MW3 guns. So helping firing aim stability is important. Then we got the gun kick control, which is good for a single fire gun, and hip fire accuracy. The other barrels here, the Matuzik Venom helps ADS, movement speed, hip fire speed. Not a horrible option. But with it being a pistol, we need to extend that damage range. The XRK TAC Ops barrel, movement speed, aim down sight speed, aim walking speed. And then the Harbinger barrel, which it blocks lasers, but recoil control, firing aim stability, gun kick control, bullet velocity, good. But the Cottonmouth barrel does it better. No muzzle because of the Cottonmouth barrel, that's fine. 12 round mag because it's the biggest mag. This would probably be higher on the list if it had a bigger mag, but 12 round mag. KRX HX15 laser light helps with sprint to fire speed, aim down sight speed the most. Unfortunately, it is visible. So is the flashlight, but we don't care about that. The laser's visible in ADS. And if you're really not a fan of that, of all the attachments to remove for an optic, I would remove the laser light because it's not necessary. Then high grain rounds, bullet velocity, and damage range. The damage range being the important thing there, but added bullet velocity is not a bad thing either. And you can see when you go through all of these that there's nothing else that helps the damage range, which, like I said, is most important when we're thinking about how we can help a pistol. Then Bruin Express gives you the best fire rate according to true game data. There's nothing else that has more green arrows next to the fire rate. So we're going to trust true game data, Bruin Express, for the best fire rate for this. So this is the loadout. Of course, like I said, drop the laser light, or if you want the high grain rounds, although I wouldn't recommend it. For an optic, it's up to you. Weirdly, some of these optics are not available on some of these pistols. I forget which one it was. One of the pistols, it was only... Oh, it's the one that we'll get to in the number 1 slot that was, like, messing up the optics. Then at number 3, we're still on MW2, surprisingly, and we have the X12. You can go with either one of these. I think these are interchangeable. Number 1 and 2, I don't think are interchangeable with themselves, but not the rest of the list. And then same thing with 3 or 4, interchangeable here as well. This one we actually do have a suppressor on. Sonic suppressor gives us a lot of bullet velocity, a lot of damage range help. Then we go XRK, Sidewinder, 6 slide barrel, more bullet velocity, recoil, gun kick control, and firing aim stability, all very important. The other barrel, the Luke Luck 9, helps movement speed, aim down sight speed. We're not really that worried about that with the pistol, but it hurts recoil and gun kick control as well as bullet velocity, so that's not great. 50 round drum, it's a huge mag. If you feel like it's a little slow, 33 is still good, but just go 50. The pistols, like I said, they ADS and sprint to fire so fast, it shouldn't really matter. Then we have high grain rounds again, and XRK lightning fire once again gives you the best fire rate overall. The XRK TR9 trigger shows it helps fire rate as well, and aiming idle stability, but we're going with the fastest fire rate. Because you're using a pistol and you're going to have to go against SMGs, we need the fastest time to kill. Like I said, you can remove the high grain rounds. Probably the high grain rounds would be the one I would remove for an optic. Other than that, I would only change the mag if you feel like it's slow, or if you're playing like solos, duos, you don't need 50 rounds. Then at number 2, we have the Siren, however you want to say it. It's the new secondary. It's the special category that Black Ops 6 created. Iron sights and carry handle are purely preference. I just am not a big iron sight person, so I like the carry handle, and it gives you 1.5 magnification. That's the only downside to it, because it's a secondary. You don't really want magnification, but I do just really like a red dot more than an iron sight. Either one works. Neither one has penalties associated with it, so that is 100% purely preference. Muzzle, there's only one option. It's the suppressor. Barrel, only one option. It's the long barrel. I mean, it's a really simple loadout. The only real variance you have is the optic, and then these two grips, and it actually should be, this is wrong, it should be vertical foregrip. I don't know how that got changed, but vertical foregrip helps with horizontal recoil, aim down sight, vertical recoil, and movement speed. Lightweight, really the only thing important there is the sprint to fire speed, and maybe the aim idle sway. Vertical foregrip is the way to go. It just helps everything that you could want it to help. And then there's fast mag or extended mag. We're obviously going extended mag here. The loadout's really simple. There's only 5 possible attachments. These are the 5 attachments, and muzzle and barrel only have one option. So, super simple loadout for the Siren. And number 1 is the Renetti. The loadout has changed a little bit. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the visual recoil change that the BO6 weapons have. So, it's really, it's its real downside compared to the Siren. And we'll see on true game data. Neither the Siren or the Renetti conversion have the fastest time to kill, although the true game data, that's where the charts messed up the fire rates wrong on the Renetti. But they have competitive fire rates, or not competitive times to kill. They're fairly close to each other, and so if you really can't do the vertical or the visual recoil, go with the Siren. And we'll see when we go to true game data. None of these are actually beating out the Jackal, but once you start getting past the Jackal into other secondary options like the PP919, these secondaries are better, and they're not a whole lot behind the Jackal. And so the loadout has changed a little bit. It is not Quartermaster Suppressor. I don't even know if the Quartermaster is still available on here. No, it looks like it's not. I didn't think so. It's not the Zem 35 like it used to be either. I just can't believe the Quartermaster is not on here. It's going to be the XRK Venter 900. It helps the most with recoil control according to true game data. And with this, you definitely need that, especially because that visual recoil is so strong. I have the optic on here. Optic of choice, of course, and this is the one that has the messed up optics. I wanted to put the good old NIDAR model 2023 on here, and it says blocked by Renetti, so it's just blocked by the whole gun. So slate reflector is a good second choice. Underbarrel, all these underbarrels I think should actually be blocked. See, so with all the changes that came in with the integration, a lot of the attachment stuff got changed, and you used to not be able to change the underbarrel if I remember correctly. But we're not changing the underbarrel here. Can't change the barrel, that one we know. 50 round drum is the must. Especially because this is essentially going to be your pocket SMG. And then we have the assault grip. You really can only choose between the Eclipser grip and the assault grip. The assault grip helps with the firing aim stability, which is the most important thing to help here. Gun kick control and recoil control. If you don't mind the iron sights here, it's worth looking into some underbarrels. Anything with helping visual recoil, which I don't think any of them do. They all are just recoil control. So you can look into the underbarrels, but then when you go to stocks, and you go to Ravage 8, that also helps with recoil control and gun kick control. I tried it out with the stock. I just preferred having an optic better because of that visual recoil. You can consider the laser that we talked about earlier, the KR HX15, to help with the sprint to fire and aim down sight speed. With this being slightly behind the TTK for the Jackal, that's worth considering because it could make the difference. But I just don't think it's worth it. You can't change the trigger action, and then you have to have the aftermarket part, Jack Ferocity. I originally did actually have high grain on here instead of the optic, but I just didn't like the visual recoil, especially when you're comparing it to Black Ops 6 guns that don't have it. And same thing, and the stock, I just didn't like it enough over the iron sights because of that visual recoil. So that's how I ended up slate reflector, XRK Venter 900. 50 round drum, Bruin Onslaught, Assault Grip, and Jack Ferocity Carbine is the must, obviously. Like I said, you could switch this with the Siren if you wanted, especially because the Siren doesn't have the visual recoil. But either one works. So those are our loadouts. Once again, second best akimbo, Strider 22, best akimbo, Grekova. Then just for single guns, the Strider 22, then the P890, the X12, the Siren 9mm, and then finally the Renetti. If you just wanted loadouts, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you like this type of content and want to see it first, and comment down below what you think of my secondary rankings. For the rest of us, we're going to go over to true game data. Okay, so right here, before we get to the TTK chart, the mistake I was talking about here is the Renetti. He has the RPM at 2571. It's a lot of rounds per minute. Pretty much impossible. When you go back to the game, you go Renetti, Gunsmith, toggle details. It's 857 rounds per minute, so 2571 divided by 857. He's got it at exactly 3 times the speed. So we go to TTK chart. We go down here, and you go. So this is what made me even look into the Renetti. I was going through all the pistols, and you're like, wow, this is broken. I was hoping I was going to find content gold here and find something absolutely broken, but that's not the case. When we look at, we'll just go to 10.9, where the where is it? The Siren's at, and the Siren's at 720. We'll go back 1 to this drop off at 9.8 meters, where the Strider drops off, and you can see the Siren 720 there. The Renetti's at 210. You multiply that by 3, you get 630. So the real TTK up until this first drop off is 630 milliseconds. The Jackal is at 616. So when I say it's really close to the Jackal, the Renetti is really close to the Jackal. See the other TTKs that are pretty close, and we're just going with chest shots. If you go combination here, the chart like doesn't change much at all. And even then, Jackal's at 616, the Renetti's at 210. Do the math again. It's 14 milliseconds behind. So they are really close. It is worth considering. You just have to make sure you hit the better shots, get your shots off first. And with the visual recoil, the better shots part is a little bit more difficult. But that's why I have the Renetti at number 1, because it's just behind the Jackal. And the Siren I have at number 2, despite it being tied here for the second worst TTK, is it's just easier to use than all the single fires that are with it. I have Akimbos on their own because, like I said, Akimbo is more of a niche type of gameplay. Most players aren't going to do as well with Akimbo because you have to know how to outplay your opponents, have good movement, all that to get close enough for Akimbo to really be effective. I mean, you look at the Grekova, it drops off at 5.4 meters. The next closest drop-off on this entire chart is the Strider at 9.7 meters. So almost double. And so that's not great for the Grekova. And if you have a non-Akimbo on here, it's like up at the top of the chart. The Grekova is only good with Akimbo. I do have it at number 1 over the Strider because it's automatic, so it's easier to use. And within 5-6 meters, it is better than the Strider. But if you're comfortable with the single fire, the Strider is definitely the better Akimbo options. I'm not really super comfortable with either Akimbo unless they're just really broken, have crazy tight hip fire, and have the kind of range that the Strider has. So I avoid the Akimbo. So that's why Akimbo, I had them in their own rankings instead of integrated into the whole rankings. But the TTKs are insane if you want to use them. Renetti, better than the Jackal. Everything else is kind of grouped here. Siren, automatic, goes ahead of the single fire pistols. But look at the P890 and the X12 here. Look how good they actually are. They are at this range, which is before either one of them has dropped off. And the X12 has crazy range. It goes all the way up to 21.5 meters. But their TTKs here are, let's see, 676 and 691. So even then, 60 milliseconds and 65 milliseconds or 75 milliseconds behind the Jackal. That's pretty good for just being a secondary. That's a bullet difference. And when you go headshots, actually, the Jackal is now slower than the P890 and the X12, but you're not most people aren't hitting all headshots. You're hitting some combination of shots, and we just stick with the true game data values. But that is why the rankings are what they are. Like I said, Renetti's number 1. Renetti's really more right behind. We'll draw an imaginary line here. But it's like right behind the Jackal. If we make this our chart now and we just take our drawing tool. It's really somewhere in, oh, that's way too thick. It's really somewhere, I can't draw a straight line to save my life, like in here is where that Renetti's at. So Renetti number 1, Seared number 2, and then the rest are just the different pistols, akimbos on their own. So that's why I came to the conclusions I did on the secondary rankings. Something people don't really talk about that does need to be talked about, because, hey, you can't always go Overkill, or maybe you don't always want to go to Overkill because you want to carry more ammo with Bandolier, or you want the free UAV and utility box with Battle Ready, or you want your 8 attachments and you can't quickly get to another loadout or have one popped right next to the loadout you're hitting. You got to be able to grab a good secondary sometimes, and these are the secondaries I would recommend. So that's it for this one. Keep an eye out for other meta videos, other Call of Duty videos. Might put together a ranked one. The long range and the short range haven't really changed because our mid-season update didn't really change guns too much. So that probably won't be until Season 2. But if you want to see any of the Warzone content I have first, make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure you're subscribed. Please don't forget to like and leave a comment based off what you think of my rankings, where I'm right, where I'm wrong, smart or dumb. And like I said, I'll have Twitch linked down below, of all my socials, and my single player channel linked down below if you want to check out any of that. And True Game Data, one of my favorite websites in the world, will also be linked down below. But I will see you on Urzikstan, Area 99, and Rebirth Island. Get frying. Have a good day.